people, and I know these two people, and I know that they're doing it well. They're doing it so right. I know they have their moments of vulnerability. They have their moments of not getting it right, but they are able to take it up, pick up the pieces and move again. And that is why I have them. So I'm going to block my camera now. I want to read their profile because I'm using my phone. I'm supposed to use my laptop, and my laptop is giving me a little issue. So I'm going to read their profile, which is on my phone. Please just listen as I read. And if you're enjoying yourself, please just show in the chat that you're having a good time already. I know we have not started anything. So I have Damilola Adeniyi, who is a medical doctor and public health professional with 12 years of experience working with public, private, and non-profit health-based organizations. Damilola is currently serving as program manager for the U.S. Center for Disease Control, Infection Control, Africa Network. Okay, Africa Network Toolkit Project at the Center for Infection Control and Patient Safety. Damilola is an author, an excellent teacher of the gospel with practical insights into its application. He served as the lead coach at the Family Life Factory, an organization he founded with a mission to raise happy and healthy families through advocacy, coaching, and recreational retreats. He is a certified family life practitioner with the Institute of Family Engineering and Development and a lover of Christ. He is happily married to Olufunmilayo. Their union is blessed with 3 nations. Could you please help me to welcome Damilola Adeniyi? Please show Damilola some love in the chat box. Please, let's show Damilola Adeniyi some love in the family meeting way. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Damilola. Can I see your face?
Thank you, everyone. So happy to be here. Good morning, everyone. You're looking so beautiful this morning. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dami. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And so the next person is Mr. Otuke Uyeri, who is also known as the Oxygenator. So Otuke Uyeri is an integrative life coach. He's a therapist and a banking professional. He is called the Oxygenator because he oxygenates minds and completely transforms lives. He believes that each of us is called to live an enriched and fully optimized life, irrespective of pains, missed opportunities, and or failures. He's a trained geologist by profession, actually, and a financial engineer with strength in supporting the ease of doing business goals of medium to large corporate organization. Otuke has over 14 years experience as a banker with 2 banks, and he is an Olushola Lanre Coaching Academy certified life coach and a practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. He is also an emotional freedom technique and metrics re-imprinting practitioner, a cognitive behavioral therapist, and he holds several other certifications from Olushola Lanre Coaching Academy, which includes certification in financial and business intelligence, FBI, emotional mastery, emotional intelligence, and life redesigning. Ladies and gentlemen, Please welcome with me into the house, the oxygenator, Mr. Otuke Huyeri. Good morning, Mr. Otuke.
Good morning, Ebun. How are you today?
Very fine. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
all right. You can hear, if you hear what I read about Otuke, we said he has all the certification. He's a behavioral therapist. And I believe he will be able to help us balance all this understanding from that perspective. Yes, please, let's welcome Mr. Otuke. Can we show them some love? Please show my guests some love now. Is it still raining? I thought it was just yesterday. Thank you so much. Thank you. Are we ready? Okay, so when I started, so if you're ready, just let me know that you're ready in the chat box. Let me know you're ready. If you're ready, just say ready, ready, ready. Just type ready, 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 ready. Yeah, ready, 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 ready. So when I started, I said something about, thank you so much. Yeah, I can see that. So I said there are a lot of misconception and a lot of misunderstanding. And I believe if we're able to understand how these things work, we'll be able to balance everything, we'll be able to do things in the right perspective. And this morning, I want to, so when I decided to do this, I decided to go into just researching on some of the things about men. And, you know, they say if the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. And so for every manufacturer, they manufacture or create something for a purpose and believing that that thing will fulfill that essence. And God is our creator. He created us, so we can say he manufactured us, right? So this creation thing starts from Genesis chapter 1, where the Bible says, and God said, let us create man in our image, after our likeness. He said, male and female created he them. From my own research, I discovered that as you are, as a man, as a woman, male and female, he created ye you. As a man, you have the male energy, you have the female energy in you. As a woman, you have the male energy and you have the female energy in you. I think this is one of those things that we need to pay attention to, because that is the beginning of the misunderstanding. That is the beginning of misconception. To say that fatherhood cannot exist without motherhood, right? Fatherhood cannot exist without motherhood. So being a mother is part of the role of the father. That's the nurturing part. The nurturing part. Of course, you love your child. You want to nurture. You want to do this. You want to do that. And the original concept says that if you are a woman, you carry the male energy. And if you are a man, you carry the female energy. So I think where we got it wrong is from the place of our nurturing, our wiring, our upbringing, our socialization. Because our own father, they see a female gender, they see male, and they start socializing you in that direction. And so the dominant energy now comes out. So as a male, the male energy comes out. As a female, they teach you to be a girl. They teach you to be a woman. They teach you to be a lady, cook, do this, do that. And in doing that, even in our emotions, in that direction, saying that boys don't cry. If a boy cried, they'll be like, why are you crying when you are not a girl? That is, I believe that is the beginning of the bottling up. That is the beginning of that masculine thing. It is there. It is actually there. And that was why we said we want to help people to see and bring out that father nature in them. So that nature is already there for both the man and both the woman. And like I said, some people wired us to be who we have become. And so in the process of our wiring, something happened. I don't want to say that it went wrong, but something happened. So if we begin to look at things from this perspective, then we'll be able to approach them differently without any nerves or stress. We'll be able to see that we are both capable if we choose to function well in those roles. Have you wondered why, even though as a boy, you were wired to just be daddy, to be in charge? And if your mother sees the need to teach you to cook, you also do it well because of that female energy that is in you. So in developing this energy, I also know that we are all products. I mentioned that. And so there's something that we didn't get right. And this is what I want us to talk about, talking about our scripting and our wiring. I want to call on Dr. Damilola. Can you tell us about your upbringing? What's your upbringing like? I just described how that we were wired. Some men are wired to be boys, just boys. And you don't even enter the kitchen, or you don't even know how to cook. You don't know how to do some house chores. Can I just bring me into your world a little? How was your upbringing like? And you're going to tell me what your upbringing is like with your father, because that's where it all starts from, the father print.
Thank you very much, Ebon. Once again, it's good to be here. Good morning, everyone. So, the question you asked me actually triggered certain thoughts. I remember earlier, I think it was earlier this year, I signed up with a coaching call with PF himself, Chris Fowe, and there are certain exercises that actually brought back memories of, how we were raised. I remember some years back also, doing, using the tree of life. Some people, that understand the family systems engineering model, understand the concept of the tree of life and how you use that, to detail your background, your upbringing, environment, significant emotional experience. And I had, quite some nostalgic experiences just trying to recollect and writing those things down. So I grew up, in Lagos, Nigeria. Surulere particularly, was born in Surulere, raised in Surulere, schooled in Surulere, was a classic Lagos boy. I think for most people in my generation, our parents grew up in a time where when they came out from school, they had jobs. A lot of them had jobs waiting for them. So most parents were, job holders, employees of companies. My dad was a banker. My mom was also an employee for a while before she started, her wholesale business. In the day and time in which we live now, we have more situational entrepreneurs, and you'll probably understand what I mean by situational entrepreneurs. There are not so many jobs out there. And so, life pushes you to become an entrepreneur for a lot of people. But I grew up at a time where, jobs were still stable. There was some form of job security largely. And so my dad was a banker, and basically it meant that he worked a 9 to 5, but, living in Lagos, it wasn't a 9 to 5 from a child's perspective. It was more like a 7 to maybe 8, 9, 10, and so the honest truth was that my dad wasn't around a lot. My mom was a bit more around. But we actually had a good, quite a good relationship. There's a lot about myself and my siblings. I am the firstborn and the only remaining sibling, technically in Nigeria, because everybody is moving towards O2K's side now, to the UK or to the US and all that. So the truth is that our parents didn't really know us, like that. My dad is approaching 70, and just by looking at himself, my mom, the dynamics of their relationship, actually there are a lot of lessons, to learn. Some of the challenges they have had as a couple, but how they've stayed together, despite that. We're talking about parenting and fatherhood. I don't really remember, my dad having conversations with me about, what marriage is about and all those things. Sometimes, because I'm, a professional, family life professional or practitioner, sometimes I like to ask my clients, how many of you had some form of sex education from your parents? And without exaggerating, I probably, in all, my experience of counseling couples, probably maybe one or two out of a large number. So, some of the things that you really need to have conversations about, we didn't have that privilege of, having that conversation. I guess, from the perspective of a parent now, I have 3 kids, and I can understand, the difficulty in having that conversation in some sense, because you probably are wondering, okay, so how do I go about this? And so some of the things we are not exposed to, the kind of education we probably really needed that we didn't get, wasn't necessarily because our parents had bad intentions. They had good intentions, but they honestly just didn't have the skill or know how to go about it, because they are also a product of their own parents. And so I think that, and from Otuke's reaction, I think he agrees with me. And I think that the next generation probably has a better chance. Some of the work we're doing now, I think it's really the next generation that would benefit. And so I'm excited for my kids, because my wife already, started talking about sex education from the age of 2 or 3, age-appropriate sex education, things that they need to know. So, and because we know the kind of world in which we live in. But that said, I had and still have a very good relationship with my dad. He was the first person that taught me how to knot a tie. He taught me to drive. He taught me a lot of things. He gave us an opportunity to, be free largely. I didn't grow up in a stifled home, in an emotional sense, even though we're not allowed to go and play downstairs like some of you for a long time until we found our way to do that. But I believe, they did the best that they could. I think one aspect of fatherhood, I know a lot needs to be said. I'll turn it over to you very soon, Ebon. One aspect of fatherhood that I think sometimes that we overlook is that fatherhood actually begins with how a man treats his wife. I honestly believe that that's really where it starts from, because some people have this concept of it's possible to be a bad husband and yet be a good father. I think kids learn a lot more from the things that they see. There's a lot of energy in the home, and they internalize some of that energy, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And from research and also from my experience, if you grow up in a home where your parents don't have a good relationship, whether it's classic dysfunctional or they are just they just cohabit in the home, even when you despise that kind of environment, chances are that you would reproduce that when you become an adult, except you are consciously re-engineered by going through certain processes. So that said, I would say that I had a decent upbringing. Of course, I know the sacrifices that my parents had to make, raising us. My dad was pretty close to us. He may not have been around a lot, all right, but I believe also my mom also, compensated by creating memories. And that's another important aspect when it comes to parenting, the ability to create memories for your kids. And that's one area I feel that, my mom did a lot for us. I remember the first time we traveled, our first real vacation in Nigeria was because my mom, she decided to go all the way, and we have those beautiful memories. And so I'm grateful for the relationship I had with them, but obviously I know there are gaps, and those are some of the things, that I'm hoping that I'm better at as I raise my own kids. A lot needs to be said, but let me turn it over to you, Ebon, so that I don't take all the time.
All right. Thank you, Dami. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? I just changed to my laptop now. Can you
Yes,
hear
clearly.
me?
I can hear you clearly.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Damilola, for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable with us to say that you had a fantastic time with your parents growing up. But of course, there are still some lapses. There are still some gaps. And this reminds me of what the boy, one of the teenagers that we brought on the show last year talked about. He mentioned that boys don't have that father figure. They don't have that mentor. They don't have they don't have fathers to tell them about wet dreams. They don't know when they're having certain emotions, when they are going through some things. They wish they can talk to their fathers because they share the same gender, right? But their fathers are not there. It's either he's angry, he's somewhere. You know, that boy was very open and he said a lot of things. And I can also hear that gap from what you've said now. To say that that role of fatherhood is supposed to come with that package. But you see, this was what I told that boy, that see, nobody taught your dad, so your dad does not even know. And so you can't give what you don't have. And that was one of the mistakes. That was one of the problems we have with our upbringing. So I'm going to go to Otuke. Otuke, are you here? Are you still here?
I'm here with you always.
Okay, so I just want you to also, so let me know, do you have another experience with Dami's experience? Dami seemed to have it 80 or 90%. In fact, the mom created memories for them and all. So can I hear, how was growing up like as a son and with your father and in the family? Thank you.
So, like Dami said, he could see clearly that I was nodding and agreeing to almost everything that he was saying. So my growing up and upbringing was kind of similar to Dami's, though my father was not a banker. My father was a teacher, like a civil servant, and even my mom too. So because of that, they were most likely available. Either my father or my mother would take us to school in the morning. My mom would check up on us during break and bring food for us to eat. Then maybe my dad would pick us up from school after closing. That's what I saw in my primary school days, right? And for secondary school, I went to boarding house. They always visited. So I don't have that experience of my parents not being available because of the kind of jobs that they were doing, right? But being available is different from being there. So the similarity is in the fact that they didn't know better, so they couldn't have done better. Those conversations around money, around sex, around life, around survival and everything. Yeah, I learned how to be a hard worker from my dad because there was hardly anything he did not do. So he was a farmer, he was a businessman, he was a distributor for Coca-Cola, Guinness, Nigerian breweries, right? Even as a teacher, right, he had a lot of side hustles. So when you see me doing multiple things today, like always looking for any additional way to make more money, I learned that from my dad. But we didn't have to sit down and he talks to me that, oh, this is what to do, this is what to do. But like Dami said, being a father in the house, treating your wife in a particular way, living your life on a day-to-day basis, you are already teaching the children how to go about their life. So I knew that as a man, you don't sit down in one place. There's this popular saying in my area that you cannot watch a masquerade dancing from one location. If you do that, you're not going to enjoy the full view and the display of the masquerade. So you have to be switching locations and changing positions so that you see the full view of the masquerade and what he's doing. What that means in life is you cannot rely on one source of income. You cannot do things from one perspective. You cannot say this is just the way, because in life there are always options, right? Your map is never the territory. All you know is not all that there is to know. So I learned those kind of things from my father. Then talking about behavioral, anger management and so on, life dealt with him, and normally how will he react? He can only react the best way he knows how to react. But I have been able to use emotional intelligence and so many other courses I've done to step that down and be a better version of him in that regard, you know. So how am I doing things differently today? I have learned so much, and I am applying what I have learned to my life, to my business, and to my family. Like Dami said, the next generation, they are really going to be very lucky because parents are now coming out. So even as I am a coach today, right? I am an integrative coach. You know, Ebun, that I have a parenting coach. So I have somebody that I submit to that teaches me how to be a better parent. Because I know that all I think I know concerning parenting can never be as much as the person that have dedicated his or her whole life to learning how to teach people to be better parents. That's the person's area of specialization. So that's one thing I want us to take away from this meeting, that at every point in time, you cannot learn everything and be a master of everything. Have a little bit knowledge of everything. But if there's something that is a pain point for you and you really want to address it, there is always somebody that is a specialist in that area. Sign up. Daniel was saying it now that he signed up for a coaching session with PF, right? Why? Do you think he doesn't know about counseling? Do you think he doesn't know some things about what he wanted to ask PF? But he knows that PF has a better experience and a better knowledge, and he wanted to tap into that. And he signed up for it and paid him so that he can get that knowledge specifically for the purpose that he needs it for. So everybody that is in this meeting today, take that away, that there are people everywhere in every area of our lives that are specialists in all these things. If you have a pain point that you really need to address, you need to take out that time to learn it, because you cannot give what you do not have. At every point in time, you can only do your best. Your best is to the limit of all you are today. And all you are today is a sum total of all the people you've been with, the people you've seen, the environments you've been in, the schools you've attended, the things you've done, right? The places you've been to. Everything comes together to form who you are today. How do you become better? Seek knowledge. The day you stop learning is the day you start dying. We are all sitting here now saying we are in the panel. I guess that later today, Dami will have something else that he wants to go and learn to add to his wealth of knowledge. I always do the same. Everyone does the same thing. So we created all these platforms so that we can be sharing all these things so everybody can become better, such that the next generation, they will really be better. Somebody posted something yesterday that adulthood is now difficult because a lot of badly trained children are now parents. Imagine that. A lot of badly trained children are now parents. So I've seen a family, right? God did not make me a judge, but I've seen a family where the father is an alcoholic, the mom is an alcoholic and a chain smoker. So they come back from work, they sit down in the sitting room, and all they do is drink and smoke. And they have children. Then tomorrow you see that child, like maybe 10 years or 11 years old, walking with a cigarette on the street. I'd be wondering, what's wrong? That he or she learned it from the house. That's all that he sees. So nobody can come and tell him that, say, but my father does it, my mom does it. It will take a lot to be able to rescue that child from that kind of lifestyle. How did the parents get there? Maybe they saw their own parents, or their parents were not available. It's a chain thing. How do we stop it? That is what we are doing today. Learning to become better versions of us, so we can pass that to the next generation, who we hope we also pass it to the next generation. I will use my mic at this point. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Otuke. You hit it. And so you've taken it to another level, and I'm going to ask a question. So I see that you and Dami had beautiful upbringing. Maybe I would have gotten somebody that is I have the Raz things to say about the upbringing, but I'm glad you are able to balance it, to say that even for those aspects that you didn't get well, you go ahead to seek knowledge. And it is because you are aware that that aspect is missing. And this is bringing me to the next question. Because when Otuke was talking, Otuke said, so we have to learn to cover up for our pain points. With our upbringing, we had different experience. So he said, being around is different from being available. And I think Dami also said that. That, yeah, they're around, they take us to school, they provide everything and they do all. But the availability is where the connection is, where you sit down and you understand your child, you know your child. And this was some of the things that those teenagers mentioned when they came on board last month. I'm saying that, so it is not your fault that you were not well brought up. It is not your fault that you didn't have that father figure. It is not your fault that the father print on you is not the one you expected. But hey, guys, it is your responsibility not to remain that way. And I think this is one of the reasons why we have all this conflict and this argument with our wives. And I want to ask Dami and Otuke, Damilola, you will respond first. Why is it so difficult for men to see that I don't know this thing and they learn? For example, if you call for men programs like this, if you call for meetings, you don't see men. If you're not talking about money, they don't. And that point, Otuke said something that you can't give what you don't have. Is it that they are not aware of what's happening? What's the problem? What do you think is the problem? Yeah, thank you, Damilola.
That's a fantastic question. I remember earlier this year, that was been around February, I put together a webinar for singles. For years, I've done things for couples. And, some people reached out to me and they talked about single people and all of that. And so, I called a few people together. We put together a webinar called Unstock for singles, exploring the liberties of the single life. And based on our expectations, it was hugely successful. But what I observed was, let's say we had an average attendance of about, I remember we had about an average of maybe about 50, 60 people attend. Less than 10% were men, were guys. Most of them were ladies. And I've seen that, that trend, consistently, that when things are put out that have to do with, family life, whether it's within the spectrum of the single life or, getting ready for marriage, or post-marriage and all of that, even couples counseling, most times, most of the clients that reach out to me are the women, the wives. Gradually, you're beginning to have a few men here and there. And so I think the reason why is linked back to parenting. You said something about, I say parenting, how the boys are raised as against how the girls are raised. There's a statement you made earlier when we started doing introduction. You said, boys are raised with the mindset that, oh, boys don't cry. And so if a boy is crying, the average person says, why are you crying? Are you a girl? It sounds very simple, but that's a damaging mindset. Very, very damaging mindset. And I can see that Otuke's reaction, I know he totally agrees from his body language. And the implication of that, and that's just an example, it plays out in many ways. There are expectations that are placed on the boy child that are different from the girl child. Now, I know that some of the challenges with the girl child is that over the years is that the girl child has not been, most times is not exposed to as many opportunities as the boy child. All right. And so from that perspective, we've said, oh, we need to give the girl child more opportunities. But there's an angle that we have not actually seen. So let me paint a scenario. I know that's probably not the case in our day and time, but back in the day, a couple, say they have let's say they have 5 children. I think the average then was 4 or 5 children. These days, people are just giving birth to 1 and saying that babies are expensive. But that's the topic for another day. So you have an average of, let's say, 4 kids. And let's say 1 is a boy, 3 are girls. And, the parents invest in the boy, invest in the sense that they send him to school, blah, blah, blah. They expect that he will be the savior. He will continue the family line and all of that. The girls are not given as many opportunities, which is a huge mistake, granted. But the implication of that is that there is a measure of pressure that the average boy is placed under from a tender age. And so the boy there are so many expectations, and it's like a burden. It is implied, sometimes it is overtly, communicated. And then when the child is a child and has challenges that the child should have, one of the things that children do is that they cry. Even adults cry too. And so when you tell a boy child that, you're a boy, you're not a girl, you shouldn't cry, what you are telling him, the implication is that you're telling him that he has to bottle up those emotions. He has to deal with himself, all right? You can't show people, because crying is a sign of weakness. Who says crying is a sign of weakness? And so it goes up with that mindset. And the mindset goes into adolescence. And then, it goes into early adulthood. And then when it gets to a point where it's beginning to think about marriage, the first thing he's thinking about is the responsibility. And that translates into the traditional concept as against the original concept of what it means to be a husband and what it means to be a wife. A lot of people still have that traditional concept that a husband means breadwinner. But that is not true. That's not what it means to be a husband. And so the average guy knows that when he's about to get married, the first thing, the average, of course, there are exceptions, the first thing he's thinking about is, oh, I have to provide for the family. All right. He's not necessarily thinking, and when I say provide for the family, he's thinking more in terms of the financial aspect and the material aspect. And so, he's thinking about the job, he's thinking about multiple sources of income. And whether you like it or not, that is some form of pressure. But I believe in God's original design, that's not how it's meant to be. A man and his wife, they are meant to be a team. They're meant to be able to work together. And so he should be able to share some of that burden. All right? He should know that he's not alone. Listen, there are many men that are alone. Internally, they are alone because they have been wired in such a way that from being from boyhood, they were expected to deal with stuff. They were expected to figure things out. And so if you say a boy should not cry, which is a natural response to the emotions and the pressure that a person might feel, what you're telling him is that he shouldn't talk. That's what it means. You're telling me he can't talk when he has certain challenges. And so he grows up with that mindset, and then is under a lot of pressure, and then he gradually begins to transfer that pressure or aggression to the nearest person, and most times it's his wife. See, many of the people that, and I'm not making excuses for the people that abuse their wives and all of that. There's no excuse for that. But most of them are victims of the same kind of abuse. It's just that the abuse was not as overt as it is when it comes to domestic abuse, like you have it. because he's not being wired in a way to express the way he feels. He's not being engineered to communicate his feelings and to communicate the fact that I don't know how to do this. Show me how to do this. These are the interpretations of saying things like, boys don't cry, but girls are allowed to cry. And so it's okay if the girl cries. The girl, is happy to express, this is how I feel and all that. And I know that's not always the case, for girls. But, on the average, she can say this, I say that. But the boy feels like, oh, there's so many expectations. Oh, my father expects so much from me. But I have questions. And so he's afraid to ask those questions because he has been engineered in a way that he can't express himself. And so what happens is that the average boy develops a mechanism where he just has to figure things out. I just have to figure it out. And that translates to parenting. I believe that the biggest challenge with parenting is that a lot of people honestly do not know how. Honestly, don't even know how. And they just believe that they will wing it. How many institutions, formal institutions, actually prepare us for parenting? There are not many. There are not many. What can be more important than bringing a child into this world and raising a child? It's a huge responsibility. I'm probably a professional, and in advocacy, there is what we call behavioral change communication. It's a 7-step process, beginning from a person being unaware to becoming aware, to becoming concerned, becoming knowledgeable, and then ultimately developing consistent behavior in the line of what you want to achieve. But the 4th step in that cycle is actually being knowledgeable. It's not the final step; it's the 4th step. But the truth is that a lot of people don't even have the knowledge of what parenting is. A lot of people do not even understand the multiple roles that a parent should play. A lot of people don't understand that a father or a parent should be not just a provider, should be a promoter, like a coach at some point, should be a model, should be a prototype, should be a protector, should be a pal, like a friend. He has to play multiple roles. And if you don't understand that, and if you don't understand the different phases of a child's development, that what a child needs in early, from 0 to 1 is different from what the child needs from 1 to 2. A cheerleader, thank you very much. Different from what the child needs from 3 to 5, or what the child needs from 5 to 7. And then you begin to, you're trying to do things during the adolescent phase of the child that you should have done when, they were preteens. And then you say, oh, mess. So a lot of people honestly do not have that knowledge. And let me buttress, some of the things that Ojuke said about coaching and parenting. Both of us have spoke about, some of the things that, decisions that we took. 2013 was the first time I really became intentional about parenting. I got married in 2014. And so 2013, of course, I read a few things here and there, but 2013 was the first time I really dawned on me that you're about to get married, all right? And you're going to be a father. And I started reading materials. One of the first people I started reading was Miles Monroe, and I was shocked. I was shocked at the things that I saw, because there was no human being that told me these things. Honestly speaking, as much as I believe that my parents did a decent job, we didn't have conversations that we should. And you can't parenting. A lot of parenting has to do with having conversations. You have to have conversations with your kids. But the truth is that a lot of people don't know how. And so there is a need to learn how to do it, which is why platforms like this are extremely important. Ask the average man or even the average parent, in a year, how many hours do they devote to becoming better parents? And you'll be amazed at what you get. And so it starts by creating awareness about the importance of parenting. You can't just wing parenting. You don't just, we figure it as we go. No, there has to be an intentionality there. And so back to your question, I believe that the average boy has been raised under pressure and be taught not to express emotions. And so he has a lot of questions, but he has to figure it out. And so some of those pressure plays out in addiction, because when you're under pressure, sometimes it translates into having coping mechanisms. And for some people, it's pornography. For some people, it is one form of addiction or the other. And when they find somebody that they can talk to that probably gets the pressure they are under, if that person is not a good influence, it escalates the matter. And so the average boy is put under a lot of pressure, is not taught exactly how to go about what is expected to achieve, and is not taught to be expressive. We have to reverse that cycle. I can go on till 11, but let me stop here.
Awesome. I can see you can go on and on and on and on. Thank you so much, Dami. You've thrown a lot of light to this conversation, and I'm really, yeah, Mary Jane, thank you for celebrating it. Please show Dami some love. Thank you. I'm sure you will agree with me that our speakers are hitting it so hard on the head, and this is so amazing. Thank you so much. So that we don't have a repetition, that's okay. Do you have something to add to what Dami just said, to say that what's the problem? Why is it that? Because for us, we just feel it's your ego that is playing up. Fine, because I have an understanding of this word ego, I know that this ego is as a result of that wiring of boys don't cry. It's as a result of all those things. And so we want to put up the front. But mommies don't understand all this.
So
yeah,
Dami was spot on. Like he hit every nail directly, putting the round peg in the round hole, the square peg in the square hole. Spot on, right? So that part that he was talking about addiction, have you not noticed the trend that men go to work after all the stress, they meet at the beer parlor? Now, let me give you examples. In Lagos, you have Ikeja Club, you have Ikoyi Club, then you have the regular lounges and nightclubs. Who are the people that go to Ikeja Club? The older generation. Ikoyi Club, the older generation, because the men came together and needed to create an environment where they can just ease the stress of the day, ease the pains. I don't want to go back home to that nagging woman. She doesn't even understand that because I'm quiet. She doesn't even know what I'm going through. She doesn't even know that that contract that I've been chasing, one man has just stood on my way. I am stuck. I don't know what to do. Well, let me just go and discuss with the boys. That's how they started in their generation. They set up a Ikoyi Club and a Ikeja Club. They are older men now. They are still maintaining that environment. So when you go to those places, you will see these men sharing their ideas, sharing their pains, sharing their struggles. And like Dami said, if the people there are wrongly wired, the matters will escalate because the kind of things they will be telling themselves to do is not even going to solve any of the problems because those guys are not professionals in advising and telling people what to do about those particular problems. The new generation today will go to normal lounges. Let's just go and drink, right? So when you see a man going to a beer parlor, it's not necessarily because he just wants to go and have drink and get drunk. Most times it's because of the pains and the load that he's carried. He's not able to think straight and he believes that, let me just take one bottle, sip it and go and sleep. By the time you wake up, maybe you would have been able to figure it out. So people need to understand that wiring is a major problem. Thank God for people like myself and Dami that have realized that we need to change that trend. And we are not taking steps and actions that are leading us to where we are supposed to be. But it's not an easy journey. And it's not as easy and straightforward for every man, right? Because your personality also matters. Are you somebody that listens naturally? Are you somebody that is willing to learn naturally? Go back again, it depends on the level of wiring. Because if you have been really strongly wired, you cannot even believe what any other person will tell you. You just say, that's crap. Just come and talk. All these motivational speakers. Just generalize everybody. Coaching, therapy, right? Belief change and everything. Just say, motivational speaking. When it is time, I know I'm on my own. They have formed that very strong belief. What's the way out? We keep putting it out there. People that have been able to come out need to continue to share their stories. Because the more of the stories of coming out and survival that is out there, people will now know that, oh, I'm not on my own. If this person can, then I should be able to. until people started coming out to say, I survived cancer. Everybody had believed that the moment they say you have cancer, you are going to die. But we have stories of people today that when you tell them they have cancer, they all are, I will live to fulfill all what God has created me for. They start the positive affirmations, they start the meditations, they start the process, and before you know it, they are out. And you say, how did you do it? They knew what to do. The people that will accept it and say, oh, to you that believe, whatever you believe becomes your reality. You believe it's possible for you. You believe it's impossible, you are correct, it's impossible for you. Whatsoever you believe, it's possible for you. So we need to keep putting these stories out there. We need to keep putting these programs out there. Truth of the matter is that the percentage is kind of tilting slightly. In a gathering like this, you will see more of women and less of men. But the men are beginning to come out. You know, thank God for people like Larry Olushola, Fela Durotue, Men's Locker Room. The last locker room had over 372 men in attendance. Yeah. So the more of that we keep doing, I am very sure that in the next few years, the percentage will tilt because, so who was I before 2 years ago? Just the normal regular guy on the street. Look at me today. I have moved. Dami is here, right? We have Bankole Williams. We have a lot of this new generation people that are coming up. Before you know it, in a matter of time and years, the men, they are going to come out. I hope the women will not say we are coming back to take over again, right?
Interesting. Thank you so much. So
Yeah.
mommy's in the house. I'm sure you can hear that men, they said they will come up. It is their turn. So they will come out again. And thank you so much, Otuke. Thank you so much, Dami, for shedding light into this. And when I started, I said, we just need to know that it is not our fault that we're where we are. It is because of our wiring. And we can change. And that is what the two of us have talked about, saying that we need to be intentional. Because I wondered, we see men, you see there are women nagging, complaining, there is this trouble in the family because of your silence, because you're not making move, because you're just coming and going, just providing money, provide shelter and go. And this is giving a wrong impression even to your children. And so there's the need for intentionality. Like I said, it is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to make a change. Very, very important. Dami said something very profound. The pressure, the expectation is so high right from childhood. I remember the teenage boy that came on the show last month said that too. He said, even as, I think he's 19 or something, even as a 19-year-old, they will tell him to read, do this particular course so that you'll be able to provide for your family. He said that thought alone weighs him down, even at that age. So you can imagine where the pressure starts from. And to crown it up, you get married, your wife is expecting so much and the demand increases. And just like Otuke said, you just decide to run away, let me go and chill with the big boys outside there. So guys, please, it is possible. We can make it right. And just like Otuke said, let's keep talking about it. If you have friends, intentionally invite family friends, intentionally invite your friend, call their attention to some of those things. I think we should do away with the silent culture that it's his life. You know, men are used to that. Is he not old enough to know what is right for him? And they just ignore. To also add to this, I want to ask Otuke to say that, so do you want to share some of the challenges as a father? Because I'm sure we have a younger father, you have a teenage daughter. We have fathers that on this show, on this call this morning that they can even see some of those things and they will just chicken out. What's this? So what are those challenges you're faced as a father, and how have you been able to handle them? Thank you.
Wow, you're putting me on the spot, right? This is your plan. You remember I was asking you that. What are we discussing in this meeting? Okay. So for the benefit of learning, right? Fatherhood has been an interesting journey for me. I have 4 children. 4. So that means there are still people that are having 4 children in Nigeria, and I'm very happy with my 4 children. You know that before I got married, I used my elder sister's children to train myself on how to be a good father. So I saw her children as an example of my children. And I was wondering, so one day I'm going to get married and I'm supposed to take care of my children. How do I really get involved? I looked at myself and started analyzing like, okay, so what would I have really wished for that I didn't get from my parents? And how can I change that for my children? Because I remember that when we were growing up, right, there were a lot of people around the house, extended family. So I never really saw my mom beating my younger ones. I never really saw her changing their diapers and everything, right? My dad was never even close to where they were eating, you know. And I was wondering like, okay, do I even have that capacity to have that number of people around when I'm living in Lagos? How much is house rent? Who will even have that space to bring people in? What will I be able to do differently? And I started learning from my elder sister. So I learned how to change diapers. I learned how to bathe children, like day-old, week-old children, right? I learned how to bathe them. I learned how to feed them. I learned how to make them sleep, right? So that when I start having my children, I should be able to use that to support my wife. So when my own children came, my first daughter, that day in the hospital, even throughout the pregnancy, I learned all those things about talking to the child. I read far and wide, I researched a lot, right? So I knew that you have to connect with the child from the womb of your wife and start telling the child what you want and what you wish for, right? And above all, hand them over to God, because at the end of the day, you are just a custodian. You're not the owner of the child. God just gave you that child and used you as a child to bring that child into the world. So he is still the owner, the father, the maker of the child. So when my child was born, they brought her out, right? And she was screaming all over the place. And I entered the room where they were going to be cleaning her up. And I said, shh, Daddy is here. She kept quiet immediately. Yeah, she kept quiet immediately. Then I now brought up my hand and put in her hand. She held me. She opened her eyes and smiled. That memory lives on in my brain. So that same day, I was able to change her diapers. Because my wife was not lactating, I was able to feed her with glucose, you know, that mixture of glucose and water, pending when milk started coming out from my wife's breast for her to be able to eat. The nurses were amazed, but this is what I've done for my sister. And I use that to learn how to do it for my own children. So from this school that they will go to, it has always been intentional. Like, I can't just say, oh, go to this school or go to that school. No, I must know who is there, what is their belief, you know? So I've been practicing indirectly intentional parenting. Now I've realized that, oh, it still requires some form of skills. And I have signed up to learn more. One of the major challenges I've had as a father is ability to provide for the household. So, you know, the way the country is today, that things are really very, very one kind. But even in that, I was able to find a way around it. Remember, I told you that I learned how to be hardworking from my dad. So I am not the kind of person that I really sat down to rely on one source of income. At the end of the day, right, I already knew that this journey requires a lot of resilience, a lot of patience, a lot of consistency in your day-to-day actions. You have to say what you can do, and you have to do what you say, right? And above all, you have to be able to create time to be there for your family. I have always tried to attend my children's graduation, those important dates in their lives. I've always tried to be there for them. Maybe like one or two that I missed because I was not in town. So no matter what is happening, I want to be there for them to know that, yes, I am supporting you. I create that family time for us to have family conversations. We have our family creed. We have our family values, right? That we tell ourselves every day. So if you do something in the house, nobody will even need to correct you. Like, somebody will just look at you and look at the value, like what you did now, does it really align? And you just start adjusting yourself. It's a full package based on what I knew from my normal research and the things I am now learning. So fatherhood for me is an interesting journey because I am taking intentional steps towards it. Challenges are there, but one thing I have known in life is with time, everything sorts itself out. And to all the fathers that are here, right? Remember that whatsoever you think over a long period of time becomes your reality. Even the good book of the Lord says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Another thing that you need to hold on to is, to them that believe, all things are possible. What do you believe? What is your heart desire? Do you really believe that that heart desire can become a reality? Are you taking intentional steps on a daily basis to ensure that that which you believe and hope for will become a reality? Go back. I said something that I learned from my sister's children, right? Meaning that whatever you want to really achieve today as a father, somebody has achieved it. How did the person do it? There's always a science to everything. If somebody else has done it and they did it in a particular way, go and learn what they did, bring it home and replicate it. You are going to get the same result. And even as you do it over and over again, you will see places that you can tweak and even get better results. So I sit here today and I tell you that fatherhood for me is an interesting journey, not because I did not see challenges along the way, but how do I even treat challenges that come to me in life? Do I see challenges as challenges, or I see them as stepping stones to where I want to get to? So I go on my journey and I hit an obstacle. Will I just cow in and say, oh, God, oh no? Or I look at it that, how can I even pass through? Okay, if I cannot pass through, how can I walk around? I cannot stop. I have to keep what? Moving. So at every point where challenges came, what was my mindset in reacting to those challenges? Those are the things that have helped me to grow, right? So, oh, I noticed that I couldn't do this. Why was I not able to do it? What do I need to do to be able to do it? Every day I ask myself, what do I want to achieve? I will set the target and everything. What do I need to stop doing to be able to achieve that target? What do I need to start doing to be able to achieve that target? What do I need to do less of to be able to achieve that target? What do I need to do more of to be able to achieve that target? By the time I set all those things in place and put the steps that I need to take, one time, follow it consistently. Don't back down, don't back out. Be consistent every day. So there's this analogy that I'm a geologist, right? So we deal with rocks a lot. You go and you want to break a rock, you carry a sledgehammer and hit the rock. Bam, bam, nothing is happening. You can hit that rock continuously for 3 days. It will look like nothing is happening. Then on the fourth day, you just go in the morning and just carry the hammer, bam, the rock just breaks. It's not that last hitting that broke the rock. Every single hit that you gave to that rock with that sledgehammer was already breaking the rock. So you are doing things consistently on a daily basis. It will look like, oh, you are not getting the desired results. Don't give up. Don't give in. Keep moving. You won't even know. One day you just wake up and say that, oh, I'm already there. I'm already there. So these are some of the things that I tell myself on a daily basis, right? I have always known in my subconscious that I am a child of God. And if I am a child of God, who is God? How big is God? He dwells in me. I am hid in him in heavenly places, above principalities and powers. Wow. Why am I bothering myself? Some people will talk about, oh, this, that, demonic, whatever. In me, I've gone to read the Bible, and there was war in heaven. Satan left with 1/3 of the angels. As a mathematician, I calculated that if he went with 1/3, that means there are 2 parts still left in heaven. So for every one demon that exists, there are 2 angels. And if the demons were really strong enough, they would not have been chased out. So for every one demon that is coming to me, there are 2 angels that are supporting me. Why do I need to worry myself? I always trust that it's not my alarm that is waking me up. It is God that is waking me up. And for me to be alive today, meaning that there is still purpose to be fulfilled. And for purpose to be fulfilled, that means I already have what it takes to fulfill that purpose. I just keep doing what I do on a daily basis and know that, yes, all things are working together for my good, ultimately. I need to stop talking now.
We should pass the offering basket. We should pass the offering basket because it's so hot right now. Thank you so much, Otuke. Thank you for opening our eyes to see this. You can see people are clapping in the chat box. Somebody said, thank you, Coach Otuke. Thank you so much. That is so profound to say that, see, challenges will come, but it depends on you. You can always overcome it. And it is not a big deal. You are not the first and the only person that will go through challenge. If only men can accept and take that and just remove that ego thing a little, even you will feel relieved. You'll be relieved. Don't take up the pressure. It's the wiring, fine. And Otuke said it's not going to be very easy to drop it gradually, because this is affecting our relationships. This is affecting our relationship with our children, our relationship with our wife, our relationship with family at large. You understand? So I can see in the chat box, somebody said, intentional parenting, awesome conversation. Oluwayomi said, bottom line, life must be intentional. Yes, for both male and female. We need to be intentional with everything we do. Don't take anything for granted. Be available to learn, unlearn, and relearn. That is how life is. Grow. Let us grow. Don't just hold on to, this is me, this is how I know how to do things. No, let's grow, let's move on. Let's do things. Let's learn. Let's be vulnerable. When you're vulnerable, that's where your strength is. And you have heard these great men, they are not, so we can't say they are pastors because, these are the mindset that people bring in, because they are pastors. No, they are professionals. And they have been able to do this to themselves. That means a medical doctor, but okay, it's a geologist and also a professional banker. They're doing well. So you see that it's not for some people, it is for everybody. And so I from all those things you're saying now, it just occurred to me that truly marriage is not, so there's no bad marriage. We just have two disempowered people, two people coming into marriage with their different baggages, different understandings, different beliefs, and we need to find a way to harmonize this. And this is one of the reasons why we're doing this. Our time is fast spent, and I'm sure you agree with me that it's been an amazing and awesome one. It's been an awesome one. So Mary Jane said the power of intentionality and consistency. Yes, intentionality and consistency, very important. Be consistent. When you've made up your mind to do it, hold on to it and continue to do it until you see a change. Don't be ashamed. Don't feel, even the Bible said the two of them were naked and not ashamed. Why will you be ashamed that you're changing? And so your wife will laugh at you. Mommies, please don't laugh at them. They want to change. Right? They want to change. Please, let's allow them. So while we round up, I was expecting that we would drop our questions in the chat box. Please, if you have a question, you can do that with a show of hand, and I will allow you to talk. While we are expecting your questions, I want the two of you to please just give us a response to this. So now that you know that we do not really understand a lot of things about your fathers, are there some ways, are there some things you think we could be of support that we are not, that the mothers are not doing? Can you voice it out so that, and so I want you to see it from the perspective of, we have different category of people here. We have people that their husbands are not so, they have not started their own journey of transformation, just like the two of you have done. And so what do you think mothers should do? What are the things they could do to assist or to support you, especially when you are in that state of inadequacy, that powerless state? Yes, thank you very much. Then after that, we'll take Tunji Olatunji's question. He has his hands up. Yes, thank you, Dami. I want you to respond to that question.
Okay, thank you once again, Ebon. It was beautiful listening to Otuke speak last couple of minutes. It brought some memories also to mind with respect to the kids. With respect to what our wives can do. It's a generic question, so so I'll probably just maybe put myself in a scenario where maybe in a classic scenario where sometimes I feel men need their wives to be a bit more understanding. Remember what I said about the pressure that the average boy is raised with, and how the average boy is taught do not cry and all of that, which is a very destructive mindset. And so you just you pent up all those emotions, and you're not willing to communicate by default, and how that translates into some people getting involved in addictions and all of that. I feel that sometimes, while it's not the responsibility of the wife to be the husband's mother, sometimes there is a child. Actually, not sometimes, there is actually a child in everyone. And so, which is the reason why some men, have this connection or attachment to their mothers and all of that. And what I'm saying ultimately is, husbands have needs, just like, the family has needs. And by default, with the construct of, society, traditional, the way families are constructed traditionally, the husband is seen as the breadwinner, in quote, like I said, and I try to, debunk that mindset. And so he is supposed to be on his toes. He's supposed to make sure that, everybody's provided for and everything is in place and all of that. I feel that one of the ways that, the wife or, the moms in the home can help is actually to be sensitive to the need of the husband. Be sensitive to what your husband needs. Men have peculiar needs. And regardless of how, whatever challenges may be within the home, I feel that one of the things that brings security for your husband is to know that my wife would always be there. She would always be supportive. She will always be there to meet, some of my peculiar needs. I think that's extremely important. Another thing is this: men, by default, also, there are exceptions. Most men, may not communicate the feeling of they want to be celebrated. But the truth is that everybody wants to be celebrated. Everybody wants to be appreciated. So recently, we celebrated Father's Day, and my wife, and by the way, I have the best wife in the world. I think I should say, yeah. When you asked us, one of the things we are grateful for, I just put it very easy, grateful for a happy and a healthy home, and that has a lot to do with my wife. My wife always looks for an opportunity to celebrate me, whether it's in real life or social media, everywhere. Sometimes I feel like maybe, sometimes maybe she overdoes it, in quote, but I realize that it is a need that I have, and it's a need that we all have. And so on Father's Day, she got this package for me for a spa massage treatment. I don't think I've ever paid for, spa treatment for myself. Like spa package, of course, for my wife. But I don't think it's, really, really crossed my mind. And it's one of those areas where, I have to re-engineer myself, that it's important that you plan to actually take care of yourself. And that as you take care of your family, you need to also take care of yourself, have personal times. And I'm not just talking about you and your wife's time away from the kids. I'm saying even also your personal time, you have to think about your personal well-being. And so doing stuff like that, paid for a spa package, and, she went with me. I received the spa treatment for 1 hour, 30 minutes, just basically massage. I didn't realize how much pain my body was in. I slept off during the massage. I couldn't believe I actually slept off. She said I was snoring. And so some stuff as simple as that, it goes a long way to show that somebody actually cares for you. Because the truth is, when you become a father or when you become a husband, there are not many people that are thinking about your well-being. That's the honest truth. And so the wives have that unique privilege. They have that unique opportunity to be able to cater for their husbands. And so being sensitive, beyond being supportive of, in terms of responsibilities, actually being concerned about your husband's well-being, knowing that by default is most likely under pressure, and then doing whatever it is you can do to ease that pressure and show that you actually love him. People have misconceptions about men. One of the misconceptions is the fact that people say things like men don't talk. Otuke already, debunked that myth. Men talk in under the right circumstance. They go to the club and they talk with their fellow friends, and they talk for long, which is the reason why sometimes they come home late. But they do that because they feel that they can be vulnerable. And so another thing, and I'll end with this, another thing that I believe, wives can do is to create an environment where your husband can be vulnerable. It is absolutely important. There's a couple I counseled last year, and we're about to go on another, round, another session. They're based in the US. And the husband reached out to me. Last year was the wife that reached out to me. The husband reached out to me, and I could see the emotions and the frustration in his voice. And the problem he has is simply, just to summarize, whenever he expresses the way he feels to his wife, and he says, and he's a good communicator, and he says, this is how I feel, because of this and because of that. The wife responds with a one-liner or a one word or a sigh. And it always sticks him up. He always feels like, I'm vulnerable to this woman, and it's as if I'm talking to a wall and all of that. And I can understand the way he feels. And I can also understand, the way she feels. So during the clarity session that we had, I tried to just to give a quick fix before we have, the subsequent sessions. I tried to make them understand the different perspectives, that the wife actually indeed is not trying to frustrate him. she in that moment probably doesn't really know what to say or how to deal with his vulnerability, but she has to learn how to do it, because if he keeps getting that response, he's going to close up, he will shut down and probably look for somebody else that he can talk to. All right, or just have those emotions closed up. So vulnerability, wives can create an environment where their husbands can be vulnerable. Let me give you a practical example. Now, I'm not saying that this applies to everyone, but men are moved by the things that they see. For example, a man can probably in his place of work be exposed to some other lady, and all of a sudden, whether it's intentionally from our own end or it just happenstance, he begins to feel somehow towards her, and he begins to think about her, and these things happen in real life. But if you create an environment where your husband can be vulnerable, he can come home to you and tell you, babe, this is what is happening at work. I find myself, talking to this person and all of that. If he's able to do that, he has solved almost 50% of the problem. Because the fact that he can open up to you means that both of you can actually deal with it and take practical steps to do that. But if, when he, maybe 2 years ago or 6 months ago, when he said something about, a weakness he has or a challenge, he has, your first response was to scream, run out of the room, and then call somebody, he's going to shut down. So that's very important. I've just said a few things. Number one, the support that a husband needs. Number two, care and affection. Men want to be taken care of. Like most men, during Father's Day said, our local, it is our turn. You people have 3 or 4 Father's Days in a year. Men actually want attention from their wives, and they want to be taken care of. It's like, the child, that boy child inside that is looking for a mother's, attention, in quotes. And don't say I'm not his mother. No, there are things you can do, that would fill that void, as it were, because those needs are inexistent. And then creating an environment where your husband can be vulnerable, where you're not judgmental of the things that he says, because that is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Dami. I love the way you responded to that. And mommies, the people talking, they are saying that they want attention, they want care, they want you to love them. It's so amazing, because this is different from what we are taught. Because we are told to give respect. So, Dami, if I can hear you, you're saying that respect can be in any form. Can come in this form. I come to tell you that this is what I am experiencing. I come to show my vulnerability to you, and you accept me. That is respect. To say, oh, how are we going to go about this? And we kind of solve this thing together. That is a form of respect. And I believe the women in the house are listening, and you can gain 1 or 2 things that you can use in your own relationship. Thank you so much, Damian Otuke. I have a question in the chat box from Tunji Olatunji saying that, what do you suggest is a good way of handling relationship with kids who are unhappy with you as a father? But okay, I would like you to respond to that question maybe in like 2 minutes, because our time is fast spent. So okay. How did they arrive at being unhappy? That's what's coming to my mind. So I want you
exactly.
I want you to respond to that question.
So Tunji, thank you for your question. Right, the first thing that needs to happen is, why are the kids unhappy with the father? So you need to be able to find out what the fundamental issue is, why they are unhappy. And if why they're unhappy is valid, right? Or if it is valid, find a way to sort it out, to make them understand and bring them back. If it's something that is a misconception or a miscommunication, then align it with them such that all of you are going to be on the same page. But one thing that they need to know at the end of the day is that as the father, you truly and genuinely love them as your children, and that whatever actions that you are taking, you may not necessarily intend for it not to be what will make them happy, what will cause them to be unhappy, but your original intention is that you want to give them the best. So you may not have used the proper approach that they would have expected, right? But your intention has always been that they should be happy children. So you need to make that one clear to them in that conversation. But first of all, find out why they are unhappy. And if it is valid, when you're asking them those questions, put yourself outside like an observer. Don't come to them like you are the father, because they will not be able to talk. But find a way to get them to relax, show them how much you love them, show them some form of empathy, put them in that state where they are vulnerable and extremely happy so that they can talk. Show them some kind of things that will make them know that, I truly, really love you. Then from there, and under that kind of sweet atmosphere where everybody is happy, you can just get them to talk. The moment they open their mouth and talk, and it is something that is really valid, they find ways to make them happy, like correct whatever it is that they are complaining about. But take note that at the end of the day, what you want to achieve is the best life for them. Your manner of approach may not really communicate that to them. You might need to change some of all those things, but stay consistent on your message to them that you want the best for them and that you love them so much. Children are easily, they forgive easily and they let things go easily, So it's not going to be something difficult for you to handle. But first of all, you need to find out why they are unhappy and find a way to amend those things to bring them back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Otuke. Dami, you want to say something?
Yes, I want to. Otuke said something which is profound. Children are actually, by default, children are very forgiving. And so, when we read questions, sometimes we don't know the context. And so I'm going to assume a context where it's not a case where they're unhappy, because of something that happened yesterday. They're unhappy because of something that has been going on for a while. And what I would like to say is this. Sometimes we don't understand how children think. We try to treat children the way we feel as adults they should be treated. And in some areas, it's valid because as an adult, you know what the child needs. And that's where instruction comes. The child doesn't need to like the instruction. The instruction is for the child's good. And so you communicate as much as possible that this is for your own good. However, the concept of parenting is not all about instruction. Giving instructions is just one part. One of the reasons why children are unhappy with their father, it's not an uncommon thing. Why do you think that children grow up to become adults, and when they become adults, say maybe they get to age where they're beginning to consider marriage, some of them gravitate towards their mothers more than their fathers? That's usually the case. Why do you think that is the case? That's the case because when a child grows up, the memories that most of them have is the memories that the memories that were created most times by the mothers. And so the average father is thinking about the most basic and fundamental needs. He's thinking about, there has to be food in the house and goat. He's thinking about they have to go to school and all of that. As much as that is profound and important, the child doesn't necessarily appreciate that. The child is not there when you're paying the school fees. He doesn't know how much you pay for school fees. I don't think there are many fathers that will sit the child down and say, in a year, I pay like almost 900,000 or 1 million for your school fees, and you're behaving like this. The average father will not say that. You understand? Because you understand maybe it's your responsibility. Now, I understand that, there are homes where those responsibilities are shared. What the child remembers is how daddy played with us. And so the concept of play is very important. I'm going to say this. I'll share a personal example. This happens from time to time. There was an evening, I think it was 2 evenings, where my wife and I, we decided that we're going to dance with the kids, dance in the evening to songs. It was a bit strange to us. Sometimes we do that, of course, when we pray with them together, we praise God and all of that. We teach them God's word, and then we do studies. One of the things I learned from PF is, studying influencers, so we study George Washington Carver, we study Martin Luther, Thomas Edison, the Queen of England and all those things. So we have such times with them. But my son I think it was my son or my daughter, or both of them, they made a profile. I can't forget it. It will never leave me. That night, we just sang and we danced. I said, we danced all kinds of dance. We looked ridiculous to ourselves. Do you know that the following day, after they woke up, my kids came to me, and I think it was my son that said it. He said, yesterday was the best day of my life. I could not believe it. I was in shock. And it's not the first time that we would have that kind of experience. When we do something that is ridiculous to the adult mind, it means a lot to the child. And so the concept of play is profoundly important. As fathers, sometimes we underestimate the power of play. The best memories that my kids have are usually memories that are linked to play. And so if you want them to learn something, you have to find a way to connect play with learning. In fact, that's the best way to get them to learn. And I believe that by default, that is actually how God wired us to learn things. It's because, we grew up in, structured settings where, we lose the importance of, what play, the role of play in the home. And it also implies also with the way we deal with our spouse, spending time to really have fun and play. Kids want to have fun. So if your kids are unhappy with you, and it's something, and I'm saying maybe on the average, maybe they are in their pre-teens period, or maybe they're teenagers, chances are that you have not created memories with them. You probably have not been there at crucial times. I'll give another example. My kids, they're at school at something for Father's Day. Sometimes they have different events and all that. We all understand that we're busy, but making our time to be there meant a lot to them. And so understand this, while there are needs that children have that are legitimate, that are, as an adult or as a father, you have to meet, you have to understand the way they think. The fact that you pay their school fees, trust me, it doesn't mean as much as you playing with them. Now, you understand that it's important that you pay their school fees, but you have to make out time to play with them, to create memories. My daughter came to meet me yesterday, said, Dad, can we go to the beach on Sunday? In my mind, I'm not thinking about going to the beach for carrying out. There are many things that are in my head. I said, oh, okay, you know what? When you go on holiday, we'll plan on going to the beach, not this Sunday. Because a child just wants to play, and it's needed for their development. And so if a child is unhappy with you, chances are that you have missed opportunities to create memories with them. You probably, are not, have not spent time to really play with them or talk with them or, give them attention. Every child wants attention. Every child wants affection. Every child is inquisitive. And so as a parent, you have to think about those needs. They need attention, meaning that you have to be physically present and spend quality time with them. They need affection, meaning that you need to play with them. There has to be, hugs, body contact, and all those things. Tell them you love them. And their need to learn. They are always inquisitive, meaning that you are available to help them learn, to lead them, to be a mentor or a coach. And the other possible reason is probably the way you treat your wife. And that's another thing. Kids learn a lot by what they see. And so if you probably have not treated your wife right, it's possible that they're unhappy with you. But I am almost positively and almost absolutely sure that it has to do with creating memories with them and playing with them. Play is extremely important to kids. I hope that helps.
Yes, you have answered it perfectly well. Thank you so much, Dami. Thank you so much, Otuke. It's been an amazing time, an awesome time spent with you today. Thank you so much. Dami mentioned that you need to create time, create memories. Create memories with your children. Very, very important. You need to learn to create memories. The other thing I see is a generation gap. You need to understand that you need to calm down. So Dami said something that at times we are talking to the children and we have the picture of adults in our mind. We expect them to think like we are thinking. So you need to understand that generation gap. You need to understand that the way they process those words are different. You need to understand that children assume a lot. And so you need to pay attention to that. And in Press Forward International, we have a lot of courses. These gentlemen are able to talk like this because they have undergone different training. And I remember Oluwayomi said it the other time that we need to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And we have also said it at the course of the conversation that, see, if you don't know it, there's no big deal in you asking for knowledge, going for knowledge, seeking knowledge. Even the good book says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. So whatever it is you're not able to achieve now, it is because you don't understand it. Wherever you're doing well, it is because you have learned about that aspect, that area of your life. So you need to learn to be good fathers, to be, that nature is inside you already. They just need to help you bring it out, need to water it for you. And that is what knowledge does, because everything we need for life and godliness has already been given to us. It is inside us. And so what knowledge does, what people do when they teach you things, is to water that thing inside you, because it's inside you already. They just help you to nurture it, to help you to make it grow and find its expression, teach you how to handle and navigate all those things. And this is what Praise Forward International stands for. Praise Forward International has different courses, different classes, ranging from understanding how the family systems run to parenting. Please, admin, I need you to drop the office number in the chat box so that if anyone wants to reach out, people can reach out. Please take the numbers, and if possible, you can also reach out to the email address that sends the link to you to inquire on the courses and the classes that we have that can help you grow. Remember, Otuke mentioned when he started that we need to continue to share this knowledge. So learn so that you can share. Learn so that your children can look back and say, oh, I had a fantastic father. Just like these young men are able to say about their own fathers today. What are you creating? What memories? Oh, Tsunji, you lost the, oh, you were the one that asked the question and you went around when we were asking the question. Okay, so the recording will be sent to your email. I hope you dropped your email address. You registered for this class, right? If you did register, the recording of this meeting will be sent to your email address. Then you can see the response given to your question. So guys, I believe it's been an awesome one. So I want to see in the chat box if you have enjoyed today. Please let me know. Give the speakers a shout out. Celebrate the speakers for the great work done, because the truth is they have done so well, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Damilola Adeniyi. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing and being vulnerable with your story. Thank you so much, the oxygenator, Mr. Otuke Oyeri. Thank you so much. God bless you and continue to strengthen and increase you guys in all your endeavors. And I see you guys making waves in the society, raising awesome influencers and taking over the world. Thank you so much. Yeah, we can see in the box. Thank you. Awesome session. Thank you so much. It's very refreshing to see young dads, absolutely young dads doing this. Yes, yes. So you know what their generation will do. Instead of having Ikoyi Club and Ikeja Club, they will have, what's that thing we have now? Great Men's Lounge.
Men's locker room.
Men's locker room. Good. So we're going to make a difference. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for everything. And this brings us to the end of the family meeting, the June edition. Next month, we are bringing parent experts. We want to really be able to talk about all these things. Yes. Thank you, guys. Have a beautiful rest of the weekend. God bless you. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much.